We are currently live right now. You may want to explain what we're waiting on.
Okay. I'd like to welcome and call to order this meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Education for the month of November. We are currently waiting on Judge Adams to get here to swear in our new board member. So if you'll just bear with us for just a second, we will get started as soon as he gets here.
You have one? Perfect.
Somebody got some serious feedback going on.
Yes, I hear that.
You hear that too?
And for anybody that's joined late, we are currently waiting for Judge Adams to come and swear in our new board member, Ms. Meek. So please pause with us to his arrival and we can get that done.
One thing we could go ahead and do while we're all waiting and all online is go ahead and number 2 on the agenda is set the meeting agenda. Since this is one of the first meetings we've had for a while, is actually on its scheduled date. We do require a motion to approve the process. Anybody like to make a motion to set the meeting agenda? Alan Hubble. Second. Bruce Smith, looks like you seconded. I didn't hear you. Oh,
You hear me now?
I do. I hear you now. Very
All right.
good. All right. Let's take a quick vote. Bruce,
Yes.
Ricky, Alan,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. Ms. Meek, we'll be able to include you in on the vote as soon as we get you sworn in. Once again, I apologize for the delay.
Sorry. Okay, so we have some pictures.
Mhm. And you can get that set. Yeah.
All right. It sounds like
I do.
people that need to be here are here. Number 3 on the agenda is the swearing in of our new board member. Judge Executive Jim Adams will perform the swearing in of our new board member, Miss Etta Meek.
Okay. I'll do it. Are we on camera?
Not yet, he's gonna get you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll space,
You don't have to space when you share a household, it's okay.
Good. Okay. How about it, Wynn? Are we good?
We're ready to go, Mr. Adams.
Okay, appreciate it. Sorry I'm late. And on top of that, the dog ate my oath, the copy of the oath of office. We've heard before. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read through it and then she'll have the option of saying she will or she won't. So we're glad to have you on board, by the way. I think the people have made an excellent choice. I don't have to tell either one of you all what you've stepped into. It's a huge responsibility, and we do appreciate it. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of a member of the Lincoln County Board of Education according to the law, and that you do further solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within the state nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God.
I will.
Okay. All right. Do you, Etta Mae, being first duly sworn, state that you are eligible under the laws to serve as a member of Lincoln County Board of Education, and that you will not, while serving as a member of such board, become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with a claim against the board, and that you will not in any way influence the hiring or appointment of district employees except the hiring of the superintendent of schools or school board attorney? You do.
I do.
Okay. You're sworn in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think you have to sign. Thanks, Wynn. Thanks for your patience.
Congratulations. All right, welcome, Ms. Meek.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you as all our board members do. Number 4 on our agenda is the superintendent staff reports. You've had the opportunity to look through those and read. Is there any discussion or question about any of those? Okay. Moving on, our consent agenda. You've had the opportunity to read through that and read over it. Do we have any discussion about any of the consent items? If not, I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to accept, Ricky.
Who will second?
Second,
Alan?
Bruce.
Okay. Alan got you just a little early there.
That's fine.
All right.
Fine.
Vote, Bruce,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Ms. Meek,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. Okay. Action items. Possible action to continue in-person instruction or go all virtual. Of course, we've discussed this quite a bit at our working session, and we have a couple of things we can do here. If we elect to keep things as they are, there's no need for a motion or a vote. If we elect to go virtual, we'd have to have a motion and a vote. All right. Mr. Rowe, I'd like to ask for your recommendations at this time.
Yes, COVID-19 is unlike anything that any of us have dealt with in our lifetime. I think our ultimate goal is to have students in person and things as normal as possible. But the big concern that I have is the lack of being able to provide adequate substitute coverage. This is something that is affecting us as it is other school districts. I reached out to the health department to ask their opinion of exactly what they would do if they were a board member tonight and how they would vote on this. They're under the same, thought that I am. My recommendation would be go all virtual until the start of the second semester due to the lack of adequate subs. We currently have 65 subs on our list. Of those, only 20 have currently accepted a sub position since went in person. And there's no guarantee that those 20 all will do it the same day. The health department has also told us that there's 26 new cases of COVID-19 in our county, and that includes some who are staff and some who are students. If the board chooses otherwise to stay in person, we'll do everything we can to make it happen. But my biggest concern is the lack of subs, and that's the reason I would recommend going virtual.
All right, we open it up for discussion.
I got one statement I'd like to make. And, we've had a lot of tough discussions over the last 2 or 3 years, and this one's not any easier. First, I want to thank our community and our teachers for reaching out to your school board members. I can speak for all of us when I say we've been overwhelmed in a good way. We want to hear from you. That's why we run for the school board. and that's why we sit in the seats we're in. And I wish every topic that we talk about was handled in this manner. So thank you for that. But I also want to share a little story today, and just thought it would be encouraging, is my hope, and inspiring for all of us. I've been doing a lot of research over the last few weeks, and I can't not keep going back to the greatest generation that we could ever look at for advice, an example, and absolutely experience on how to handle a situation that we're in today. Went back and looked at the early, was actually started probably in 1919, so a little over 100 years ago. Those folks were plagued with 2 wars, a Great Depression, the Spanish flu that resulted in nearly 50 million deaths. And those people had one thing that I really thought was neat, is that everyone felt a call to serve to reach a common goal. We all here on this board, the parents that are listening on this call, the teachers and staff that are listening on this call, we all have the same goal, and that was we care about the kids and we want to see them be successful. And whether it's you wiping snot off a kid's face in your classroom or teaching AP algebra or whatever it might be, the common goal that we have is to help our kids in this county be successful. I think it's important to note that nothing we're going to vote on today is going to 100% fix the issue that we have with the students failing and students falling short and not being successful. Sacrifices are going to have to be made by all of us, just like the parents had to last year. There's a lot of us that did not get to see our kids graduate. There's a lot of us that didn't get to see our kids have their senior prom or have their last football or basketball or football or soccer or whatever it might have been season. We all had to make sacrifices, and we're going to have to continue to make sacrifices. And we have to realize that we're not going to make everybody happy, but we all have to have one common goal in place, and that is to help our kids in this county be successful. If we have a common goal and we all want to come together, these kids will be successful. And most importantly, they'll have the opportunity to learn how to overcome adversity. And to be quite honest, I can't think of a better thing that we can teach our kids as parents, as teachers, as mentors in this community, is how to overcome times of adversity. And we are in times of adversity. We've got a political drama that's going on every day. We've got a pandemic that we don't know how to wrestle. But what I do know is we have resilience, and we have people that are willing to thrive and to do whatever it takes to make our kids be successful. But it starts with us at home, and it starts with us as educators. So regardless of what the decision is that's made, we have to understand that we have to come together as a community and stop being divided by a fence of whether we're this or that, and realize that we're here for the common goal, and that is the kids. So I just encourage us all to look back on that great generation and to do whatever it needs to take steps that we have to take to make sure our kids are successful so that we can start to move forward in this county and start beginning to thrive instead of surviving. And that's all I've got.
Well
Okay.
said, Rick. Bruce?
Has the implementation of some of those other instructional models been considered, maybe like as a scheduled rotation where like a group of kids would be assigned to come maybe Monday, Tuesday, maybe do a deep clean on Wednesday, and then the next group come on Thursday, Friday? I know that's one of the models in the document that was given out, like, I guess back in June, July sometime.
I can tell you from the leadership level, yes, we've had some conversations about that. So we did see that in the guiding document. And that could alleviate some of the issues we have. Immediately, it wouldn't, because we still have substitutes issue regardless you're in 2 days a week or 3 days a week. But that's something we can look at. I do know that Danville was doing that, but the last I read, they're now having the same issue we are, and they went back into a virtual learning model because of lack of substitutes too. But that's something that if the board so chooses, we could definitely look at and make plans for.
Because I think we moved back to an orange, right?
Yes, we are currently orange.
According to the incident map.
Yeah, but there is an increase, so we're in the orange, and we're well in the orange, but I also think that we're ticking back up. Is that right, or can we just say that's an abnormal blip? What do you think?
I think we can say it's an uptick, and that's not just locally, that's going to be state and nationally.
Do we have some students attending school?
Do we have students, attending school at this point when we're on
Right,
virtual?
right.
We haven't done the small groups. We're putting a plan together to be able to do that because we'll have some students with RTI or students with exceptional needs that we're going to have to provide services for. So that's something that if the board decides to go virtual, that we've got a plan in place to start that. I think we've had some kids that come in through the vocational school to get some of their skills in, but that's the only ones I know that are currently doing that.
Would you mind explaining what the RTI part is about?
Yes, we have students, that it's response to intervention, students who have needs that are not identified as a special needs child. And we know that they may not be getting the skills they need at home. And we have to bring them in and provide them additional help to make sure we bring them up with their peers. So it's something that we do normally during the school year, but we definitely are going to have to address a whole lot more because of the pandemic and the way things are this year.
I know another concern that was expressed to me is that we talked about flexibility last week, and I've had some staff tell me that they have other jobs after their hours of duty at school, so they would not be able to do that. They would need to work just within the hours of duty that we currently have. So some of the other issues, I think our system, of course, we have the internet issue, and I think some of these students are they're losing their connection, then they're getting counted either tardy or absent. And I saw some posts on social media about that, so we probably need to address that. Has there anything changed about what we were told back in August from Liberty Mutual about the insurance?
Nothing has changed that has been told to me, no.
Would you anticipate, regardless of, the sub situation, if we were to go back, or not really go back, but stay where we're at, would we still be considering the county being red as our metric for making a call on
that would be my recommendation to the board is yes. I think that's something that our county has accepted and they understand. So if we're going to remain in person, I would definitely want to use that metric of being in the red is when we would go out. Now, there may be additional times that I, as superintendent, would have to use my powers to call school off, much like a snow day, if we do not have adequate coverage. And that's something I would do for the safety of our kids.
Alan?
I've had some questions asked of me, and I'm going to refer them to you all because you should have the paperwork there somewhere or another. Well, the original plan that was in place that we had as a district was somebody referred to me, and I told I couldn't answer one way or the other because I didn't really remember. But were we going to call off by school? Like, say, if we had an outbreak at the high school, was we just going to let the high school not go to school and keep all the elementaries going? Or is that, you follow my question?
Yeah, that was something.
What was the protocol that was outlined originally?
That was some of the things we discussed. I don't think we definitely come out and said we would definitely do that, but it is something we can look at. But it does present some more logistics than I originally had thought that we have to deal with. But, there's something that could be done.
I'd like to refer back to Ricky there. What he said was an excellent way of putting it. The American people are very resilient in the way that we take things on, and I'm a firm believer in not just standing back and letting something run the way things work, but we have to be safe in doing it. And I can understand if the county or the state or whoever shuts us down health department wise, but as far as who's making the calls on these quarantines, what's the protocol on that? I know a lot of other districts around, they've got people that are coming up testing positive and are being quarantined, but they're not quarantining, say, the people that's been around them that day as much, as long as they were wearing protective gear and not just necessarily passing hand to hand or something like that. That makes sense at all?
It makes a whole lot of sense. And I think a lot of stakeholders have reached out and asked that same question. There is a set of questions that are providing to us as a district from our health department, and we use those questions to ask. The big thing that has caught some of our quarantine situations is being within 6 foot of somebody for more than 15 minutes, even with a mask on. And early on, teachers are taught to not be in front of the classroom, to be interactive with kids, which is a great thing. And that's the best instruction we can have. But it led to some of our teachers being quarantined and students being quarantined because a teacher may test positive or a student may test positive, and they've all intermingled together. That's something we've been addressing. I can't speak for what other school districts are doing or whatever the local health departments are doing, but everything that I've seen that our local health department is doing or the questions they give us are the same things I see when we have webinars with the Kentucky Department of Education to make sure we're following the healthiest school guidelines.
So back to what Bruce was saying earlier about a rotating schedule or as far as what I mentioned there, possibly just quarantining by school. I mean, is that something we could look at just for the simple fact? I believe, I mean, and it's just my thinking, I don't have any facts of the matter, and nobody does, because according to the press and everybody else, in June, this was all supposed to be over with. So we don't have no clue what's going to happen in January, February, March. I mean, they may call off graduation and everything for another year. But is there any way we could maybe work out a possible plan to maybe get some kids back in school? Because I know we're losing kids to homeschool, and we're losing kids that are falling behind. I mean, this virtual learning, there's no doubt that some kids can excel at it, but there's others that can't. And I would probably be one of them that couldn't, because I'd be lucky to get the computer turned on. So that's, I mean, I think we need to explore some other options before we just shut the door and say, let's go all computer, because there's a good chance we're going to leave a good percentage of our students behind, and that's not somewhere we want to be. I mean, if we get to the year 21, we don't want to take a chance on having to repeat half of our students in the grade level they were in before to get them caught back up. That's my only concern.
I think irregardless, there are going to have to be some major adjustments on learning targets for various grades and various classes for the next several years to just where we're at right now. I think that's a definite.
And another thing that was brought to my attention, and what about the curriculum that's being used between virtual and the in-student? That was brought up that there's quite a bit of confusion going from in-person learning back to virtual and back to in-person. Are we using the same learning platform across the virtual and the in-person? Or are we using something for the virtual that's doing it, and then we're just having NTI for the ones when we can't have in-person? Or it looks like to me it'd be a lot simpler if we had a one learning platform, whether you was at school or not at school. And then if school got called off for a week, then you'd still be on the same curriculum as what you was when you was at school.
I agree with you. In an ideal world, that would be perfect, but we were unable to find something that would allow us to be able to do that. We're covering the same standards. It may be on a different lessons that are provided for those standards, and it may be on a little bit different timeline. Edgenuity, the online platform, is something we have been using in the district for multiple years, and that's been basically used for credit recovery, but it does align to the content for the state of Kentucky. For those who cannot get access, to the internet, we do have the thumb drives that are sending information home that teachers are gathering for the standards. To say that it's the same exact thing, no. Does it cover the same standards? Yes. But is it going to be hard to jump from one to the other? Yes. And that's why the high school was adamant that we try to keep them on one or the other, because they foresaw this could be an issue.
Well, what'd be the possibility of leaving? I mean, we just need to explore all options is what I'm getting at. If they feel the high school, middle school, they feel it'd be better to stay all virtual, what about like all of our elementary grades? If at all possible, keep them in school and in-person learning, and then you could actually supplement teachers from the high school and middle school level to help fill in if necessary. I mean, I know it's not an ideal situation, and I know that that's not their job, but a lot of times when things tear up, I do things that aren't my job as well. And I know other people in business and work at factories, if you show up and 3 people ain't there, then you got to do what you got to do to keep the line moving. And that's just something I think we need to look towards. And if there's any way at all possible, I mean, I think people would step up as long as they know we was making progress.
I'll just say this, and I agree with everything you said, Alan, but I'm also know that, you know, so much of what we do is dictated by regulation and law and everything else, and it's going to take some planning to put anything like that in place. And I'm not negative at all. I'm just want people to understand what we're talking about, because a lot of the plans that we've had up to this point, you know, were developed over the course of a summer. And, you know, I sat in on some of those meetings, and there was a lot of thought process that went in, and then we never realized that we were still going to get hit the way we were hit. And, well, I tell you what, it's reinventing the wheel 3 or 4 times in a day, you know? So anyway.
Let's look at some facts. I know it's, again, I think that, and I love conversations, and I've enjoyed just sitting back listening, because it's the same thing we've all been thinking for, what, 2-3 weeks, months now. And I think that, you know, what the probability that, you know, every county is going to be in the red by, you know, the next 3 or 4 weeks, or by the first of the year anyways. I mean, we know that families, when it comes to Thanksgiving and Christmas, I mean, we don't all live in the same county. My grandparents live in Boyle, and they're getting really old, so you can bet your money I'm going to Boyle County to see my grandparents. So I believe it's something that we need to start weighing and thinking about too, is with the holidays coming up, and so many counties are in the red, and we're starting to tick up a little bit. If we think proactively, what's the best choice? And I think that I love the idea of closing schools and mitigating the spread that way, and keeping as much open as we can. I do like that idea, but I also think about strategically how much of a wreck is that going to be for shuffling people around. But just looking back at the facts, you know, with 94 counties in the red already, and we're, you know, fastly ticking towards all counties being in the red, knowing that people are going to be traveling the next 2 or 3 weeks in and out of state, cross county lines, we can assume that it's going to keep increasing. I mean, is that a fair statement to make? And if it's not, just stop me. But just thinking about that in the holidays, and trying to be proactive in the measure and the decision that we make for the kids. I mean, what do y'all think? I mean, what would make sense? That's the answer I got too. That's what I'm asking.
That's the magic question, isn't it? You know, no matter what decision we make, there's going to be elements of right to it and elements of wrong to it. Either way we go, and I think we're all fully cognizant of that.
Yeah.
If we were to go virtual, I would say that it would be a good time for some staffs and school folks to work on some of the plans along the lines of what Alan said. But, you know, those plans aren't there now. So that's an issue. Because I don't think we're going to go completely away from this on January the 1st either. I know that, you know, I think Boyle, of course, has gone virtual, reevaluating on November 24th. I think Danville's gone virtual. They're reevaluating on the 30th. I know some other districts, you know, are going to January 1st. So, I mean, a lot of the districts that went back early are now virtual. So as we've seen through the history of a lot of these districts and their actions, you know, there's really no absolute perfect answer no matter what.
My understanding that Garrett County and Rockcastle, I think Garrett County went back this week, and I think Rockcastle, they went back orange, and I think they're returning here soon.
Monday.
So
I do know that. I do know Garrett went, and my understanding is their attendance was not very good. I don't know the exact percentages.
So if we elected to go all virtual, what are we going to do? You know, community-wide, school-wide, I guess is the right question to answer in the seat that I'm in right now. What are we going to do for the kids that are falling behind? What are we going to do?
Well, as of right now, the RTI process is something that's been working in the background just in case this was a decision. I know Ms. Gobby's been kind of leading this up. She works with our special needs population, but she also works with students who have other needs just than those classified as special needs. I know the high school has a big plan of getting these students in. A lot of those would be students who could drive. They'll be coming in small groups using social distancing and meeting the students where they're at and giving them the needs they had to improve. We also would be able to provide transportation for these small numbers of students to come in. We've worked that out with the transportation department if that's the route we want to go.
Mm-hmm. What about the after hours? We know the instructional hours are what they are. Gives teachers opportunities to do things. But what about the after hours calls? How do we?
I would recommend, and we put a caveat on in that basically, teachers this year is different, and that there'll be some phone calls will be coming in the evening, but there's got to be a happy balance somewhere in between. I would like to say that we don't expect any teacher to answer a phone call past 6 p.m. Then we could use additional funds that we've been allotted through CARES, and we could hire a rotational group of teachers who would volunteer to answer those phone calls for those parents who work late that need to make those phone calls late at night. But I think we need to honor the contract with our teachers too, because we can't expect them to come in 8 o'clock in the morning and be answering phone calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I don't think that is fair to them. But we do have monies available that we could put teams in place at each of the schools to make that happen.
Okay. And that service could be provided throughout. It doesn't matter, what classroom they might be in. If they've got a general question about math, they can reach out to this person for help. They can reach out to that person. Give the teachers time that, to spend the hours that they would normally be doing instruction, do tutor and instruction, but also give them time to be creative and create videos and, put stuff out there on Google Classroom or on YouTube or whatever it might be to help the kids, and then have a service after hours that help also.
Yes, most definitely. And I put a feeler out there with principals to, we always try to plan for multiple events that could occur, and told them to give me a list of what it would take at their school, how many they need to do after hour phone calls if necessary. So they're working on that in the background, just in case.
Yeah. And I'm not completely familiar with it where I don't have a kid. I do have, she's in college and she's doing things virtually as well. And I can tell you that it's not any easier at their level either. But as far as Ingenuity goes, is that a platform to where teachers can come into that, whether it be like in a Teams call or something like that, and have a classroom setting where they're working through that online stuff together? Or is it
not really? It's basically a person sitting in front of the computer kind of program, a self-taught process with it. But I think regardless what we do, especially if it's virtual, we're going to have to incorporate more of these Google Meets for those, or FaceTime or whatever we can do beyond just the computer to do that. I mean, we can't continue doing what we're doing is the best way to say it.
Yeah. And Google Meets is a great way and again, we're asking a lot. I'm scared to even say it, but I do have it. We could have a virtual classroom, and I've seen a few in some northern counties from here that are actually doing a split screen type thing where they've got their instruction on one side and their teacher kind of in a similar setting like this, and they're being able to work through the instruction. It's not the ultimate, but in our ideal, but it's absolutely meeting the need, and I think they're having success with it. I just wasn't sure if that was something we could do.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Alan.
Well, since you're trying to decide about the virtual or the in-person, what'd you come up with on the athletics portion of it? Last week, I was supposed to have been something we're supposed to check on to see about the athletics and the preschool and the kindergarten levels. Anything could be done as far as keeping them going as much as possible, or. And to tell you the truth, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had more phone calls over me saying that we was going to call off ball than I did that we was going to call off school.
Me
and
too.
I guess that relates back to the society we live in today, that we're more concerned about a basketball than we are being able to read the book. So I guess my question is, are we going to go ahead and pursue keeping the athletic department going as much as possible, and the kindergarten and the preschool age kids, or how are we going to handle that?
I can start with the preschool and Head Start. I would say no, and the reason for that is those students aren't wearing masks to begin with. A limited few may, it's not required. So with this spread, it's definitely going to spread a whole lot quicker at the preschool and at the kindergarten level, or the preschool and the Head Start level. And I've already had a couple ask, well, if you're going to do preschool and Head Start, why don't you do kindergarten? Then I had one say, well, why don't you do first and second grade? So to me, I think if we do it, we go virtual all and bring in groups for RTI. As for athletics, I suggest we leave it alone. I think the only issue we've had was the girls basketball program. We had an outbreak there. we were able to stop that for 2 weeks and get that under control. And beyond that, athletic-wise, you may have a athlete who has been in contact or quarantine, but it's not been because of the sport. It's been because of a contact either outside of school or in a classroom. So my recommendation is we would continue using what the metric that the Kentucky High School Athletic Association is doing. I would hate to be the only district that I know of to shut down athletics at this point.
And all of our athletes have signed the waiver that we approved back earlier in the year, correct?
Yes.
And I do want to, again, I think everybody's done the absolute best they could with the conditions we've been given. Our athletes have done a great job. I believe they have. Their staff, their coaches have also. And the football team's successful, playing a big playoff game coming up, and couldn't be more proud of them. And they've had a lot of success this year, but I believe if you brought them all in here, starting with the coach, and asked them if this was a normal year of football, he'd probably all tell you no. Just COVID has impacted everything, and they've just tried to make the best of it. And in a year of wins and losses and success, we've done great. But I believe our staff and athletic director their focus has been to give the kids some kind of normalcy, and they've been very successful in doing so.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, does anybody wish to make a motion of any sort at this time?
Pains me to do so, but I will. Given the conditions, I believe that it would, with the uptick in cases and the holidays coming up, and I want all of our staff and students to enjoy the holidays with their families. We've seen what this virus can do, and unfortunately, even in our county, there are going to be holiday celebrations this week or this year with empty seats at the tables. And those are due to the families that have lost family members of the coronavirus. And I believe it's in our best interest to, while we want the kids to be successful, we got to keep them safe, keep them healthy. I believe we've absolutely got the best staff, whether it's certified, classified, or volunteer in the state of Kentucky. It's also, I think it's important for us to do the best we can to keep them safe and successful as well. So it's not the fan favorite. It's not going to be the easiest, and it's going to take a community of like-minded folks with the same heartbeat and the same desire to see these kids be successful to do so. But I would like to make a motion to go all virtual until the first of the year and reevaluate in January.
Do we have a second? I will second. Vote. Bruce?
No.
Alan? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, that was a plus, wasn't it? No, I'm gonna vote no for the simple fact I've had more people contact me that wanted to go back to school than has contacted me wanting to go virtual. And that's
Right.
the reason why I
Same
vote
here.
no.
Same
Ms.
here.
Meek? Ms. Meek?
Due to the fact that all the communications that I have had, parents and teachers want to go virtual. So I vote yes.
And I vote yes also. 3-2 to go virtual till January the 1st. Okay. Next, 6B, added duties to mental health specialists. Ms. Cooper, are you on?
I am. So we talked about this last board meeting, but evidently we didn't approve the 2 additional duties on page 2 that are in red. And all these duties are allow our mental health specialist to be supervised by a licensed clinical social worker, which is going to allow her to become a licensed clinical social worker, which will in turn provide more services for our students in school.
Okay. Any discussion or questions?
So had these been posted since we had approved them earlier? Because we're changing it.
Yeah, there is a posting up for a licensed clinical social worker or for a mental health specialist right now. They may be posted, but we have not hired that position, no.
Okay. Because I was just thinking, because we're changing a job description, so if so, we would have to repost those, correct?
Well, there's only one posted right now.
Okay.
And I think it does have the new I would have to look, Mr. Smith, to be honest with you, I'd have to look, but it may have the new, the two new duties. Yeah.
Things, okay.
If not, I will post it. It's not been hired, so it's not been interviewed for.
Anyone else? Mr. Allen?
I just got a question is, I'm not disputing whether we need it or not. I'm just saying if we're gonna be off till after January 1 from being in person, is that a position that could be hard after the first of the year?
Okay, so we're not talking about the position.
You're
We're
just
talking
adding
about
duties
the
to it.
description.
Yeah.
This person that this impacts is already hired, is already in place. They have been in
Well,
place since the beginning of the year.
So Bruce was just asking there if it had been posted with
There-
this description or not.
There is a
If
new
not, Bruce-
position. There is a new position at Stanford, which we received funding for at the beginning of the year, which that funding covers the entire cost of that position. And so that's at Stanford Elementary. That's the one we talked about last week. We just didn't talk about the additional duties. So we've already received the funding from the state for that position. And it's just sitting there right now. So our kids could benefit from an additional mental health specialist.
Anybody else?
But the additional mental health specialist is not what you're voting on right now. It's just the additional job duties on that job description.
But I guess what we're talking about here is like when we change a job description, then that is changing that job. So if that was posted, then we would have to turn around and repost that again because we have changed those requirements, I would think. Now,
That doesn't change the salary. That doesn't change the amount of days. That is when they have to reapply for a job. It's when it affects their salary in any way, an increase in their salary.
Anyone else? Do we have a motion to add these duties to the mental health specialist?
Motion to add those duties, Ricky Lane.
Second. Allen, Hubble. Vote. Bruce,
yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Meek,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. All right. 6C, Community Partnership and Data Coordinator, Ms. Hahn.
Hello.
Hey.
I am coming to you to ask for a position. We've had a few things that have happened that have caused us to, we've had to kind of scratch plan A. So we had hoped to capitalize on the Family and Community Engagement Coordinator position that was already existing in the district, and we're going to stipend that position to help us with the preschool portion of that community involvement. According to the program standards 1302.53, we are required to have that community involvement liaison type position. We were going to take advantage of our community person that we already had in place. That person took another position, and so the community engagement person was absorbed into another position, along with the other job duties that that person was already doing. So it kind of left us in a bit of a lurch. So I'm asking to, if you'll remember back when we voted on kind of reconfiguring everything, I had left a position of the school readiness mentor coach, which is actually a certified position, open because I was just taking on this position and wasn't really sure what I would need in place to make it successful. So I'm asking to abolish that position and to replace that with this classified position. We are still a person short of where we were from the previous structure, and we are still about $23,000 to the good if this position is established, minus benefits, because you just really don't know about where the benefits are where they would be. So we're still to the good in the money. We're still a person down, but this position kind of culminates 3 different positions. It's that community liaison position. I included the job description there for you that kind of highlights what we would like to see. We would really like a deep dive into some data. We would also like kind of across settings. We also would like to do some inventory management. When we're making orders, you know, we've got lots of things in storage, and instead of ordering a new water table every time that somebody needs one, do we have one already? You know, is that something we need to keep up with as well? We also want to look at a lot of the components of the Head Start program are program wide. Even though each one of those centers operates at a school, they are very much one whole program. And so there really has to be a lens of keeping it program wide as far as the number of students, the percentages of income kids, over income kids, how far over income kids, disabilities, all that kind of thing has to go into our grant. So really helping kind of manage some of that as well. So it's basically taking 3 positions and kind of putting them into one. And so that is what I'm asking for. And I have presented that to the policy council, and they did approve that and felt like that was a good move.
Okay. Questions and discussion? Alan?
So basically, you're wanting to abolish a position off of the roster there, or the payroll schedule, to create another position. Or actually, the position was there, but we had it set up as a stipend. I remember that. It was going to go along with the other.
That's correct.
But the Head Start requirements require that to be a position, a standalone, and not in cooperation with the other one.
No, not necessarily. If she would have stayed in that position, we could have made that work. But because she took a new position, and we moved that position to combine it with another position that was already at the board, we didn't fill that position. We combined that with some other duties of someone else that was at the board. Then that person's plate got really, really full, and I didn't feel like I could ask them to take on preschool to the extent that this was going to be required. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
So in other words, the position that we was going to combine it with, we actually need to abolish it on the county. I mean, that makes sense, because if their job duties was combined with another position, because she left that position, we left a position open. Is that what you're telling me?
Can I respond to that?
Mm-hmm.
It's the community engagement coordinator position we've had in the district for a long time, but it's a grant position. We've been told that the strong likelihood that it's going to be the grant's not going to come in for next year. But I wouldn't want to abolish it just in case the grant does come in next year. It's a very slim possibility. We've known year to year that this is one of the grants that's on a chopping block every year. So I'd rather wait to see if a grant comes in next year that we can apply for. Otherwise, at that point, we could abolish it.
But it's nothing that's going to be rehired right now, though, correct?
Right. We're not planning on rehiring at this point, no.
So which one, looking here at the spreadsheet, which of these positions are you asking us to abolish from the preschool to create this one?
The school readiness mentor / coach. We did not fill that position at the beginning, but I wanted to leave it open in case I felt like I needed that position. But I feel comfortable with the coaching portion and the curriculum and the school readiness piece of that I feel like we've got that covered. And this part of this position will assist in that data disaggregation and that sort of thing as well.
So you have someone in this family and community engagement coordinator position?
No, at this point we do not.
Mrs. Hahn, did I understand you correctly that the advisory council has approved this?
Yes, it was presented to policy council, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Will the salary schedule, will we need to amend it as well? This is if we create this, it's a new position on the salary schedule, so that needs to probably be amended as well.
Yes, Ms. Cooper and I spoke about that and felt kind of looked at the positions that we had that were comparable to what we were asking for, and the salary schedule that we're asking for is on the job description there. And I put the range from min to max so you could kind of see what the minimum and maximum will be.
Anyone else? Somebody like to make a motion to approve the community partnership and data coordinator?
Motion to approve, Ricky.
Do we have a second? Alan, seconds. Thank you. Vote. Alan,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Meeks,
Yes,
and I vote yes also. Okay, CAT's offer of assistance, Mr. Yaden.
Yes, this is very routine. The action is just to put that in escrow so we don't lose that. That's it's $24,020, and the action I'm asking for is just put that in escrow.
So we would make a motion to put the CAT's assistance into escrow. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Accept the offer.
Accept the offer.
It's accept the offer. Okay, that's what I was thinking. All right.
I thought did we not already accept the offer earlier in the year though?
That was a different offer. This is more money they're trying to give us.
Oh, okay.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah, tell them to double it up.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the CAT's offer of assistance?
I make a motion that we accept the offer of
Bruce makes a
assistance.
motion. Alan seconds. Thank you. Alan, vote.
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Meeks,
yes,
and I vote yes also. It's 5-0. All right. Facilities usage agreement with the Danville Country Club. Mr. Rowe.
Yes, Mr. Estes apologized not being able to be here this evening, but he's briefed me, so I'll share with you. In the past, we've used the Kentucky KSD, Kentucky School for the Deaf, swimming pool for our swimming team. That since has been closed down. And then we switched over to Center College. Since COVID is going on, Center College is not allowing school districts to use that. So we have 8 swimmers on a swim team looking for a place to be able to practice and have meets. And we have surrounding districts looking at the same, they're in the same scenario. What we're asking is to be able to sign an agreement with the Danville Country Club to be able to use their pool. And this is kind of unique. It is an outdoor pool. So they're willing to keep their pool heated during that time. It would be a contract that we pay for $1,500 per month in order for us to practice and be able to have meets as necessary. They will have warm-up tents for when students or when our athletes come out of the water, they can go directly to a warm-up tent, much like you would see in the Olympics or something to that effect. So this is the only place that we have around us that will allow our team to have a season. I've talked with other districts, and they're getting ready to sign on themselves for this. I commend Danville Country Club for being able to heat the pool. I'm sure it's not going to be a cheap expense, but it's the only option for our kids. So I would like for the board to consider approving a usage agreement with the Danville Country Club.
And you said that was $1,500 a month?
$1,500 a month.
How many months is swim team season?
That I can't tell you straight off the head. I'm sorry.
I'm just curious. I know it kind of mirrors wrestling a little bit, and wrestling's usually over in February, but I wasn't sure exactly.
Yeah, the contract says that the practices are for November, December, January, and February.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing I would mention on this, I reviewed this, I'm okay with the contract, except I have, at least need to advise you, I have concerns on paragraph 9.
Okay.
C. And that basically just says that we agree to fully indemnify and hold the Danville Country Club harmless for any claims, demands, judgments, or liabilities, including attorney's fees, resulting from any accident or injury or property of members or guests or its group, and will defend the Danville Country Club against any such claims. That's a pretty strict language that if there's an accident and injury that's not our fault, we still have to defend and indemnify the country club. I would like to propose language back just saying that both would be responsible for any of their acts or omissions. If it was something that we did, obviously we'd have to be responsible for it. But if it was something there that was faulty with their equipment, with this agreement, we're taking responsibility for it.
So
I would just like to draft some language back just to propose to them for both to be responsible for any of their own acts or omissions.
Okay. So best thing to do at this point probably be to table this until Mr. Baker can make those additions or changes and propose it back to them, correct?
That would be fine. Or, yeah, I think that would be the best.
Okay.
When do we know? I know it says November. When do we know when we're starting to use the facility? I know, I think the swim and dive meets are November 14 and 27. So, but I'll get this out early next week to them, to
Okay,
Mr. Estes, and see who we need to contact.
okay. Well, I wouldn't want to take any action on it tonight. If you question anything about it, we'll work from there, okay?
Okay.
Is that acceptable to everybody else? All right. Last thing I need is a motion to adjourn.
Before we do,
make-
I want to welcome Miss Meek. I don't know if we've had a chance to do that on
Thank
here, or not, but glad to have you on here and excited to spend a couple years with you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Appreciate
Sorry
it.
about that, Alan. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's no problem. I was just gonna make the motion to adjourn, but I was gonna ask are we having a December meeting or?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
not a problem.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Bruce seconds. All those in favor, just say aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.